20.
Text number 20. Anyonyam asit sanjalpa uttama shloka chetasa Gauravendra Purastrina Sarva Shruti Manohara Anyonyam asit sanjalpa Anyonyam asit sanjalpa Uttama shloka chetasa Gauravendra Purastrina Sarva Shruti Manohara Anyonyam asit sanjalpa Uttama shloka chetasa Gauravendra Purastrina Sarva Shruti Manohara Anyonyam asit sanjalpa Uttama shloka chetasa Gauravendra Purastrina I saw it in that way. The king of the Kurus, Sura, capital, Srinam, all the ladies, Sarva, all, Shruti, the Vedas, Manavara, attractive to the mind. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. Absorbed in the thought of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is sung in select poetry, the ladies on the roof of all the houses of Hastinapur began to talk of him. This talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said that in all the Vedic literatures, the goal is the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna. Factually, the glories of the Lord are depicted in such literature as the Vedas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. And the Bhagavatam, they are specifically mentioned in respect to the Supreme Lord. Therefore, while the ladies on the tops of the houses in the capital of the kings of the Kuru dynasty were talking about the Lord, their talk was more pleasing than the Vedic hymns. Anything sung in the praise of the Lord is Shruti mantra. There are songs of Thakur Narottam Das, one of the acharyas in the Gaudiya Sampradaya, composed in simple Bengali language. But Thakur Vishwanath Chakravarti, another very learned acharya of the same Sampradaya, has approved the songs by Thakur Narottam Das to be as good as Vedic mantras. And this is so because of the subject matter. The language is immaterial, but the subject matter is important. The ladies, who were all absorbed in the thought and actions of the Lord, developed a consciousness of Vedic wisdom by the grace of the Lord. And therefore, although such ladies might not have been very learned scholars in Sanskrit or otherwise, still whatever they spoke was more attractive than the Vedic hymns. The Vedic hymns in the Upanishads are sometimes indirectly directed to the Supreme Lord, but the talks of the ladies were directly spoken of the Lord, and thus they were more pleasing to the heart. The ladies' talks appear to be more valuable than the learned Brahmana's benediction. Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnananjana-shlakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri-Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dati Swavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuga Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavansha Shri Rupam Sarvajana Sarvanaratanatam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Pariyanasarekam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Radha Saranarata Shri Krishna Namo Vishnupada Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashrayati Saharine Vancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Bhavebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna very much for coming today morning for Srimad Bhagavatam class. And thank you for inviting me. This is a very beautiful section of the Canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. As the chapter is entitled Departure of Lord Krishna for Dwarka. Srimad Bhagavatam is all about pure devotional service. Right? Begins with taking out all the various understanding of Vedic wisdom and focusing on pure devotional service. And then we find this whole theme in each and every verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Now we want to discuss that theme now, but let's build up something how we came to this place on this verse. We are now referring to Lord Krishna's departure from Hastinapur to Dwarka. Lord Krishna is so much attached to his devotees, so much very kind and obliged that we can see this in action now. This is not the first time Krishna is wanting to depart from Hastinapur. We turn the pages, previous chapter, Lord Krishna has attempted already once. After battle of Kurukshetra, after Lord Krishna has pacified everyone and did all the last rites from all the people who have died, and settling down Yudhishthir Maharaj, then Krishna took blessings and permission to depart. And Krishna already was on a chariot, already was in the car and about to leave. And just then, we know that how Uttara came running and she was terrified because a Brahmastra was being attacked and her womb was in danger. So Krishna, who was already on a chariot, got down and get down from chariot. From chariot only protected Uttara, and Uttara's son was protected. And then after that, Mother Pinguti offers beautiful prayers to Krishna, naturally coming out from a wonderful devotional heart. And after the prayers, then Yudhishthir Maharaj comes forward and expresses his heartfelt apology that it is because of his desire to become a king that so many people had died in the battle of Kurukshetra. So Krishna had to come down with chariot to pacify Yudhishthira. This is how Krishna is so personal with devotees. Krishna was already going, Krishna must already given a message to Dwarka, I'm coming soon. But Krishna gets down from a chariot, tries to pacify Yudhishthira Maharaj. Krishna knows that there is one important personality whom I am not catered, and that is Krishna. So Krishna arranges all the circumstances that Yudhishthira doesn't get convinced by Krishna on this. Can you imagine Krishna is convincing Yudhishthira Maharaj, maybe telling Bhagavad Gita also to him. So Krishna spoke Bhagavad Gita and lifted Arjuna from his confusion, made him fight. And now Krishna has to lift Yudhishthira Maharaj after the fight. But Krishna is unable to lift Yudhishthira Maharaj. Why? Because Krishna doesn't want to lift. And Krishna, he arranges Vyasadev to come and counsel Yudhishthira Maharaj. Vyasadev is unable. Imagine Krishna is unable. Vyasadev is unable. Why? Because Krishna wants to glorify Krishna. So Yudhishthira Maharaj and all the Pandavas are taken to Krishna, who is lying on the battlefield. And there, while lying on the bed of arrows, Bhishma Pitama, grandsire of Kuru dynasty, speaks wonderful wisdom. He doesn't speak just few words, Haribol, however you want to. Mahabharata mentions he speaks about chapters after chapters of wisdom while lying in the pain. And he speaks and he convinces Yudhishthira Maharaj that it was not you. It was a great plan of destiny. Behind it was Krishna. And Yudhishthira Maharaj becomes convinced that Bhishma leaves his body in presence of Krishna. And now things are settled down again, right? And then Krishna is back in Hastinapur with all his devotees and reciprocation. And now in this chapter, Krishna is making the second attempt to leave for God. And now it looks like Krishna will leave now. Because now Dwarka Vasis are waiting for Krishna, right? This is how Krishna is always attracted by the love of his devotees. So what's happening in Hastinapur? Great scene. Devotees are in tears. Devotees are feeling separation. And who are these devotees? All great Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Kunti Maharani, Pandavas, and all of them are just praying and crying tears. We can read from few verses here as we come to this 20th verse in this particular chapter. What's happening in Hastinapur? It is said that nearly devotees fainted. Nearly fainted. You can imagine the attraction of being with Krishna. Devotees fainted. These devotees are not just emotional devotees, they are very strong. I'll read some names of all these devotees who fainted. You'll be surprised. Wow. Okay, who have fainted? Text number 9 and 10. Nearly fainted. Subhadra nearly fainted. Draupadi nearly fainted. Kunti nearly fainted. Uttara, Gandhari nearly fainted. Dhritarashtra nearly fainted. Yudhsa, Kripacharya fainted. Nakula, Sahadeva, Bhimsena. Bhimsena is very strong person. Bhimsena is also nearly fainted. Dhaumya, Satyavati, all nearly fainted because it was impossible for them to bear separation from Lord Krishna. So this is how there is a great festival of separation. I call it festival because even separation from the Lord is actually a type of enjoyment. Our Sampradaya philosophy is what? Huh? Vipralam, right? We feel there's a joy in separation because that separation creates more attraction and intensity and a longing to be with the Lord. So Vipralamba Bhava. So here is the Vipralamba Bhava seen here. And then as we go ahead in the period of Srimad Bhagavatam to the different verses, we see how the hearts are melting. All the hearts are melting for him on a pot of attraction. What a wonderful way of mentioning this point. They looked at him without blinking their eyes. They moved hither and thither in perplexity. The female relatives' eyes were flooded with tears out of anxiety for Krishna. They could stop their tears only with great difficulty. They feared their tears would cause misfortune at time of Krishna's departure. So Lord was departing and there was a great ceremony. There were different kinds of mridangas, bowls, drums being played to show Krishna honor. And then the royal ladies, they went on top of the palace. And from there, with smiling affectionate shyness and glance, they are showering flowers on the Lord. Arjuna hurried. He took an umbrella and he carried on Lord's head. Then there is Uddhava, Satyaki, they began to fan the Lord, all spontaneous, they are not planned. Spontaneous attraction. Scattering flowers, they were walking on the road. Krishna was walking towards his chariot. And now we come to this verse where ladies who are on the rooftop, they are discussing, they are not speaking in some loud mic Krishna can hear. Of course, Krishna heard. But they were discussing amongst themselves about the glories and transcendental qualities of the Lord. And Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami mentioned, this talk was more attractive than the hymns of the Vedas. So we are discussing about beautiful prayers being offered here in Srimad Bhagavatam. And these prayers may not be very eloquent, very much confined to the Vedic meters. You know, in Vedas there are meters. We generally use the word meter for measuring something, right? But here in Vedas they use the word meter to measure what? To measure the pronunciation. Even the words have to be properly pronounced in meter. That means some words have to be pronounced short, some long. Like sometimes we have your case in our temple here, right? And then the Guru they chanted Om, Om is chanted a little louder, a little more longer, right? And then others are much shorter. So those are meters in which they are chanted. Definitely the ladies in Hastinapur were not chanting in those meters and all that. We are just plainly discussing about their realization about Krishna. And we are discussing about their internal talk in pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam is a very important literature. No one suddenly glories or talks will come Bhagavatam, right? But Shukadeva Goswami is discussing, talking about Bhagavatam, and Shukadeva Goswami is talking, and they say, hey, two verses are remaining, let's add something there. No, not like that. Srimad Bhagavatam is all nectar. Everything in Srimad Bhagavatam is well calculated. So the ladies are sitting here and their talk is now we're going to speak next few words about the discussion what's happening to the ladies. And here Prabhupada mentions beautifully that how Prabhupada is saying the language is immaterial, but the subject matter is important. It is not which language, it is not how, it is not the articulation, it is not the pronunciation, it is the devotion. So Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Phalam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Prayach. Krishna uses the word devotion in that verse. And what is Krishna asking? Krishna is not asking something fabulous. Patram. What is Patram? Leaf. Pushpam, a flower. It's not specifying also which flower, right? Patram, Pushpam, Phalam. Is it specifying any phalam? No, just any phalam. Toyam, water. So these are things by which we can worship Krishna, but the most important ingredient is the devotion part. And that's what Bhagavatam is emphasizing. Devotion is very important. Then the pronunciation, the language, the meter, these are important. These are not that they are not important, but the precedence is over the devotion part. One time Srila Prabhupada was in Vrindavan, and Srila Prabhupada was approached by some Vrindavan, his friends, Brajavasi, and they were great scholars. And they came and said, Swamiji, your disciples, they are not good in pronunciation. Many times these devotees, they are not able to pronounce things properly. Not all, few. But these are times when ISKCON was growing up, like devotees were all just trained, they had come from Western background and now they were reciting verses or they were chanting, sometimes chanting Ramo, Rama. People in India, they are very conscious of these words, the way you pronounce. Right? Even now also, in Bhagavatam class, or in classes when we go and we teach, we speak, then some Indians who are very conscious of South Indian background or some very specifically ask, why do you chant in this way? Why you can't chant in this way? So it's specific. And they are not wrong because Vedic mantras have to be chanted in a particular way. Right? So Prabhupada was asked by this person that your disciples, their pronunciation is not good. Prabhupada said, but their renunciation is good. Prabhupada focused on what? Like one person came and said, Swamiji, your disciples, they are not properly following Ekadashi. Prabhupada said their grandfather, their father did not know what is Ekadashi. At least they are following something. Appreciate it. So Prabhupada is very much guarding his devotees. But Prabhupada was not like, okay, guarding, do anything. Prabhupada also was specific. Like, for example, now in Bhagavatam, whatever we are doing in Bhagavatam is all Prabhupada's legacy. Jaradha Madhav Prabhupada told us to chant, so we chanting. Not that we added some extra people, to gather people kept chanting Jaradha Madhav. So why do people gather then we start Bhagavatam? No, Jaradha Madhav was institutionalized by Srila Prabhupada. After that, we chant verses. How do we chant verses? The speaker chants and the audience responds three times, and the audience chants. This methodology was introduced by Srila Prabhupada. Why? Because Prabhupada wanted devotees to also recite verses properly, right? And there are classes when Prabhupada began this verse recitation. There are classes in beginning. Those days, Prabhupada would hardly speak half an hour, but 20 minutes went on recitation only. So you also recite. This is not good. Recite properly. Why? Because Prabhupada externally wanted that externally show to the whole world that pronunciation is not important, but internally he also wanted devotion to be trained. So we can see how devotion is a very important factor which attracts Krishna. Krishna is called as Bhava Grahi Jana. He accepts the Bhava, right? But along with Bhava, we should also give the substance. Like for example, if we can give offer Krishna the best of foodstuffs, will you not give? Or will offer whatever is available? Krishna is a Bhava Grahi Jana, etc. But there is no Bhava in that also. That is what is the Bhava in giving. So Krishna has to give you the best has to be given the best devotion, not asking. Everything Krishna deserves the best from us. So here we find the theme of how these wonderful devotees of Krishna, they are chanting, they are discussing among themselves about Krishna's great transcendental qualities. And the prayers of Srimad Bhagavatam are mentioning about their qualities. Throughout the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam, we find so many beautiful discussion, prayers of devotees amongst each other or devotees alone chanting and praying, offering prayers to Krishna. And those devotees, their qualification is not seen. What is the qualification? Like the beautiful verse who Goswami quotes in Baladev from Bhagavatam. What is the qualification of Gajendra offering prayer? Now this is an elephant. Elephant offering prayers. In a material sense, elephant is considered dull animal. How can a dull person offer prayers and that prayers are come fast? So Gajendra's prayers are offered because Gajendra's prayers are offered with devotion. Kunti Maharani, she is a simple housewife, mother of 5 children. But her prayers are coming in Srimad Bhagavatam. And these prayers are studied by great Vaishnavas, renunciates, studying Kunti Maharani's prayer and increasing their devotion. This is Kunti Maharani. So externally she may not have those kind of qualifications, but internally because of her devotion, her prayers have become very famous. So all these Vaishnavis, even devotees and other species, when they're offering prayers, Srimad Bhagavatam picks up those prayers and enables us to study these prayers. We are discussing here, and Prabhupada is quoting about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying that Narottam Das Thakur's bhajans in simple Bengali language, he's saying it is that they're as good as Vedic mantras. Now, Narottam Das Thakur's bhajans are so nice, right? Very sweet Bengali bhajans. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying they are as good as Vedic mantras. In those times when Narottam Das Thakur composed his Bengali bhajans, music was a very important element in Bengal culture. So now also if you go to Bengal, you will see that they have very they have a lot of attraction for music. Those who Bengalis have, yeah, you will notice. Even now, if you go travel to Mayapur and you go on local buses or trains, you find someone just coming up with some sitar and singing some song, bowls and get they call it. Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he composed many literatures, so many of them. He also composed bhajans. He wrote books which had only Bengali bhajans, and that book was of preaching the mass because he understood that bhajans or the songs are very attractive for people. So he changed his name as Baul. So I forgot his name. Some Baul, if you read those bhajans, then you find Bhakti Thakur is not saying Bhakat Bhakati, we know the guy, not like that. He's saying Baul in something. Rama Baul, he changed his name and presented so that he could present the same music, the way the music is performed with those instruments, and Bhakti Thakur with the whole philosophy of Krishna consciousness. So those era, this era during British era, during British time, was known for Bengal being very profound in music. So once Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj was approached by one gentleman, he said, Maharaj, I want Krishna Prem. What I want? Krishna Prem. So Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj said, only 2 annas. 2 annas is the currency of that time. Anna means like we have cents here, right? I was informed that 5, right? 5 cents was there, now it is also not there. 25 cents in the beginning, right? So those days, annas were, so in India, we don't even hear anna. Maybe if you are from India, you are 8 anna, 4 anna, right? Yes. Those times. But these are 2 annas. Long back, 2 annas. And Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj is saying, if you have 2 annas, you can be Krishna Prem. And this was shocked. Krishna Prem in 2 annas is few cents. How? Go in the market and buy these 2 books of Narottam Das Thakur, Prem Bhakti Chandrika and Prasna. You read them, you get We're just collecting this whole pastime here that Narottam Das Thakur's songs are as good as Sanskrit or Vedic mantras. Yes, these songs, when someone studies these songs, the beautiful songs of Narottam Das Thakur, songs of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, songs of Srila Prabhupada also, right? Prabhupada wrote beautiful songs on the voyage to America and Calcutta. Those songs contain so many wonderful Vedic wisdom. So here the Bhagavatam is Srila Prabhupada and the Bhagavatam is mentioning about the aspect of devotion, bhava, which Krishna accepts. I'll take you to now one place, holy place in India. This is Guruvayur. Guruvayur is in South India and Kerala. And it is known for many wonderful devotees who offer their prayers. So every day in Guruvara temple they would offer Vishnu Sahasranam. Vishnu Sahasranam is a very famous prayer. Demigods offer this prayer to Lord Narayan. So there was a very famous, very well-known devotee, very simple, coming from very simple background, did not know much about, had no qualifications, but he was well known for his devotion. So he would come and recite Vishnu Sahasranam in front of the Lord, not like a mic and just devotionally offer. And many times he would chant, and there was one a very Sanskrit scholar devotee. He was also a devotee. He was the one who composed Narayanyam, the famous Bhagavatam, he composed the local language. So he was standing next to Kundanam. Kundanam's devotee's name was chanting these prayers. And Narayan Bhattatri, he was hearing. And suddenly he heard that when Kundanam is chanting Vishnu Sahasranam, he said, Padma Nava Maraprabhu. So what is Maraprabhu? The actual pronunciation is Padmanava Amaraprabhu. Padmanava means Lord of Lotus eyed Lord. Padmanava, or Lord from whose lotus navel Brahma is born. Or the lotus bodied Lord. Padmanava. Right? Padmanava actual thing is Amara Prabhu. Amara means the demigods. Who is the master of all the demigods? Padmanava Amara Prabhu. And what because Sanskrit, Padmanava, like sometimes there is this A is not is missing in the Sanskrit because it understood you chanted A along with it. But to put the whole thing properly, then you have to know Sanskrit thing. So it was like Padmanava Amara Prabhu, but Padmanava Amara. So then Kundan chant Padmanava Amara Prabhu, Padmanava Amara Prabhu. And Narayan Bhattacharya was thinking, this is you're chanting wrongly. This Padmanava Amara Prabhu, what is Padmanava Amara Prabhu, Amara Prabhu? So Kundan was thinking, sorry. And again chanted again because of the way he was chanting Padmanava Amara Prabhu. So Narayan Bhattacharya became very disturbed. He left the temple. But he was very devotee. Lord Guruvara would also discuss with him and empower him to sing prayers. So Lord appeared in this and said, what is wrong? Why you got so disturbed? You left the Darshan temple and came back home. He is chanting Padmanava Maraprabhu. What is wrong with Maraprabhu? How can it be Maraprabhu? You are Amara Prabhu. You are the Lord of demigods. And Lord asked him, what is the name Mara? Mara means those who are mortals. So you are not the Lord of Mara. What is Mara? You are Sanskrit scholar. What is Mara? Mara means trees. So am I not the Lord of trees? What is wrong? And the Lord says, now for your correction. Go back temple, you are authority in temple. Every day now when they chant Vishnu Sahasranam, they chant Padmanava Maraprabhu. Lord changed the whole meter only. You see how Supreme Personality of Godhead is bring more devotion over the pronunciation, the way it is chanted. That is important, but the most important is how we chant. I'll tell you a story which is not actually a real story, but it weighs in here. One time when we are less time, my God, let me finish my story fast. Okay, so this is a small boy. He's like in a home. As you see, small children, they keep coming and asking so many questions, right? So, mother was cooking, and the boy came. I came back from school. I know. What should I do? Sit down and read your books. Went and read. After 5 minutes, 5 minutes came back. I read the book. What should I do now? And it was every 5 minutes coming, doing something. So the mother got fed up because she was busy cooking something. And I said, okay, there's a temple. Go temple nearby. So then he asked, I want to go. What should I do in temple? Go and offer prayers to the Lord. So he was about to when he came back. What prayers should I offer to the Lord? So mother was so much confused and so much like irritated. Whatever you have learned in school today, go and recite it. So he went to the temple in front of Radha Krishna Gopinath and he's offering prayer. What is offering? Today what I learned? A B C D E F H I J K L M N. Right? These are prayers offering continuously offering. That's what Pujari was doing. He's like not even considered an artist. He's like So within the arti we kept the lamb, said, hey, come here. What is your chanting? I'm chanting ABCD. Why chanting ABCD? Because the mother said, whatever you learned in school, you can offer. Krishna accepted. Hey, it's not like that. You chant Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Watch it is too hard for me. He went back home. Anyways, now this Pujari also was very devoted. So lot of thought, Gopinath, why is doing nothing? What is the problem? He's chanting ABCD, you have a problem. Lord, how can he chant ABCD? Should chant Hare Krishna. So Lord said, what is Hare Krishna? H-A-R-E. Right? From ABCD. So chanting Hare Krishna from the ABCD. Maybe your Hare Krishna is not pleasing, not as pleasing as this boy out of simple, genuine devotion, simplicity. Someone told and he's coming offering ABCD. I'm appreciating more ABCD than your Hare Krishna. This means they'll chant ABCD tomorrow and chant. That's the point. The point is that you need to know Lord sees the devotion aspect. That's very important. So when we do some service, prayers, chanting, anything we do in our life, Krishna consciousness has to have devotion. That's very important. We should be expert, no doubt about it. We should be artistic, skillful. Everything is that Krishna likes it. But Krishna loves it. We can do with devotion. So if someone is not able to do anything big, the small thing will do proper devotion. Krishna is waiting for that activity. That's important. That's what Prabhupada has taught us through this whole ISKCON society. That whole idea of ISKCON society is we are a society of Krishna consciousness. We are conscious very much of whom we are offering this service, this prayer, anything we are doing for Krishna. Who is Krishna? What is he like? Bhagavatam is all about what Krishna likes. You read Bhagavatam, thanks to Srila Prabhupada, he has offered us Bhagavatam, right? So Prabhupada said, Bhagavatam is my, his purports of Bhagavatam is a devotional exercise. Prabhupada mentions in Bhagavatam verse 10. Tadvag Visargo Janatag Viplavo. He mentions that even if such messages are imperfectly composed, they can create a revolution in the minds of this society. So, Prabhupada's Bhagavatam is an example of this devotion. Prabhupada came from externally a Bengali background, right? Came from a background where we came from Bengal, where he studied English and he presented the Bhagavatam in English language. But he was not from a very well-known English family where he knew how to pronounce things, how to write things, how to speak English. Prabhupada came with that and he gave Bhagavatam. And his Bhagavatam created revolution. Why? Because Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavatam was not just pronunciation and meters. Prabhupada took care of that. Prabhupada kept Sanskrit devotees who saw and corrected his Sanskrit things and all. Prabhupada did all that because they were presented in the modern public. But Prabhupada was more based everything on devotion. In fact, sometimes scholars in India they would criticize Prabhupada's books, especially the Bhagavad Gita, and said, why is Swamiji speaking on Bhakti Yoga when there is no mention of Bhakti Yoga in the translation? Prabhupada used all opportunity to speak about Bhakti Yoga, speak about devotional service in each and every verse of the Bhagavad Gita. What is Prabhupada understanding that tomorrow someone will buy this book? He will not read the book, he will read only one verse. Something like 39 verse. And he will not read the book maybe. But in 39 words, I have to convince him about Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada put Krishna consciousness in every part. So Prabhupada's understanding was very clear what I am presenting to the audience here. So Prabhupada presented that side. So Prabhupada, we met some scholars saying that you are putting Bhakti Yoga in a place where there is no Bhakti Yoga. Prabhupada said these guys for thousands of years, they kept Bhakti Yoga out of Bhakti, out of Bhagavad Gita. Right? The scholars who wrote Bhagavad Gita but deleted Bhakti from there. And they had their own ideas and own things, meanings on which they wanted to project to Krishna's teaching. So Prabhupada said for many centuries they did not present Bhakti Yoga in Bhagavad Gita. So now I'm covering up that one. I'm presenting Bhakti Yoga in every verse. This is Prabhupada how he applied. So Prabhupada was like, Prabhupada was like, Prabhupada he presented Bhagavatam to us. Prabhupada was himself relishing Bhagavatam. Prabhupada read his own Bhagavatam. Prabhupada said, is there any author who read his own books? No. Why am I reading? Because I did not write these books. It's Krishna who dictated me and I wrote these books from Krishna's dictation. Prabhupada was in the night, Prabhupada has to be ecstasy. Otherwise, how can someone spare his night sleep? Right? If someone is not sleeping the night, that means he must be enjoying what he's doing there, right? We experience. Can we sometimes we are doing a very thing which is very dear to our heart. We don't sleep. But something is not dear to our heart, immediately sleep. So Prabhupada did not sleep at least for 12 years, 65 to 77 recorded on the history. How can someone not sleep in the night and be awake? Because he was in ecstasy, relishing Bhagavatam and giving Bhagavatam in a way we can understand. That's Bhagavatam. So one day in the night, Prabhupada ran the bell. So devotee was taking the assistant of Srila Prabhupada. He ran and came back. It was almost half asleep still. And Prabhupada said, Prabhupada was translating 7 canto of Bhagavatam. Prabhupada says, Prahlad Maharaj is so great. What do you think? Very honestly. See Prahlad Maharaj, he is praying so nicely. He is praying for delivering everyone. His whole universe. How can you imagine a devotee praying like that? Such a wonderful wish. What do you think? Yes. And Prabhupada realized he is not actually not in Bhagavatam, he is in some other place. And Prabhupada, I think you're tired. Go and take this. The next day morning he woke up and he realized, I was just woken up not for some Prabhupada wanted some water this or that. Prabhupada just woke me up to express his appreciation for Prabhupada. So Prabhupada wrote Bhagavatam in that step, not that you are writing like a or to complete marathon. Prabhupada was realizing Bhagavatam and presenting Bhagavatam to all us. Therefore, he said, these are my devotional exercises. So this is all Bhagavatam. So we have such a wonderful opportunity to read Bhagavatam, distribute Bhagavatam, right? This year we are going to have Bhadra Purnima. Wow! 100,008 Bhagavatam sets. Jai is good word, but we do it. So one thing which we have seen in ISKCON society, that when ISKCON devotee decides something, we come together. The blessing of Srila Prabhupada is impossible and impossible, right? Yes. Don't give an example of impossible and impossible. We ourselves. We have become devotee. Hare Krishna. This impossible person has become devotee and study Bhagavatam. That is Hare Krishna. Impossible. Biggest impossible has been. So we try our best and we can do it. It's possible. Anything is possible. I just want to give an experience of many experiences in society of ISKCON. Prabhupada always taught us that, think big, right? Think big. Prabhupada taught himself big. We should all together come and think big and do big. Try our best. And miracles also happen. Like 2 years back, once my spiritual master Radhanath Swami just called me during marathon just before 1 year of marathon. He said, this year the separation from Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj, Gopal Krishna Maharaj left the month of April. He said the first time the world is going to have marathon without his presence. Otherwise, Gopal Krishna Maharaj will overrule many temples and inspire devotees to do Krishna. So this time we don't miss Maharaj's presence. So we should do something here in our temple which is a mark of glorification, honor to Gopal Krishna Maharaj. So I said, yes, Maharaj, because previous 8 years also our marathon related to many devotees. So Maharaj said, so we should do something great. Yes, Maharaj, we will do something great. Maharaj, what is the meaning of something great? Because great has to quantify, right? He said, Gopal Krishna Maharaj would quote Srila Prabhupada and said, double it. So we should double it. And then after I understood what is great. Double it, then I started doing. We do 150,000 meters in marathon. That's also a challenge. And now 300,000, right? 3 lakhs of qualification. I'm not very convincing with 300,000. 3 lakh Bhagavad Gita's. And I was having in front of Gaurang Guru. Gaurang Guru, let's do it. Maharaj Swami and told me, Maharaj Swami told me. I think so for Gopal Krishna Maharaj, double is also we should come first in the world. And there was that first, not calculating the mind, first Delhi temple comes or Mayapur So if you want to come first, you should little bit more than what you do. Otherwise, you will like not come first and come second. So 600,000 books. From 150,000 books, you go 4 times. And I was not able to speak only. So then, but I realized long back, 20 years back, when my spiritual master asked me to do something, I said, Maharaj, I'll try. Maharaj said, no, try, do it. This is what actually in ISKCON the God trained. Prabhupada told everyone. You try, but you should do it. Try it. You do inside your heart. Try. Don't speak like you will do it. So then what happened is, Maharaj, how do you do it? So yes, you have to use your brain, intelligence, and come to the devotees to discuss. And so Maharaj, if you are with our team, we will be able to do it. So Maharaj said, okay, we will announce this in the Sunday program for all the devotees. So I'm not going to details, but when I happened, we did 626,000 Bhagavad Gita's in when we all decide something, ISKCON fellows can create because we are all in the parampara of Srila Prabhupada, parampara of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, parampara of Vedavyas, parampara of Lord Krishna. Whole parampara have done miracles so far. So we all decide, come together, we do our part. We do all our part. Someone can do spiritual part, someone can do Hanuman's part. We all together do it's impossible can become possible. Let's try. Can try. Somebody must be happy about it, right? Anyways, come to a few points. I just finished my class soon. So, Prabhupada's presentation of Bhagavatam is so amazing. Prabhupada's Kirtan, they are so amazing. If you hear Prabhupada's Kirtan, same Kirtan Prabhupada sang long back. Even today, it's like a famous Kirtan tunes. Prabhupada tune comes in. This takes us all in different world. Right? I was recollecting one very influential book distributor came from abroad and he was distributing books on the streets of Chennai, Madras, Tamil Nadu. And I was standing there and he did not know how to speak the local language, but he was standing there and he was trying to preach and distribute books. And he knew one thing, attract people, put Prabhupada. He put Prabhupada and people would just come. Who is this singing? This show the book. This is Prabhupada. He wrote the books. Singing is good. The book also good. So one guy, middle age or little about 50, he was like standing there and he was watching like this. So the devotee called him like this. He kept his distance. Finally, our devotee thought like, I'm going to wind up my stall. This person waiting for a long time just as he's hearing something. He got an approach. I'm seeing you standing for a long time. What are you looking at? The bookstore or what? I'm hearing. What are you hearing? This beautiful music is being played. What is this music? This is our Prabhupada, founder Acharya. I know your Prabhupada. And they mentioned I am a very, very well-known musical composer. I don't remember his name, something Balakrishna Rao, like very famous in Karnataka music. I'm hearing, and I can tell you, this music is not of this world. I don't understand which ragas are this, but this has to be from Vaikuntha, he said. So someone who is into that whole thing, not a devotee as such, but he is commenting Prabhupada's Kirtan is not from this particular place. That's what Prabhupada's Kirtans are attractive. Prabhupada's bhajan attractive, just gets us harmonium, praise and this that bhajan just takes us away from this, our anxieties, our troubles, our thought process, multiple thought process. So on the realm, right? New bhajans. One brahmachari got temple, his joined his father was very against him. So one day he brought his father to temple. And at that time, Aarti was going on, small Aarti, Prabhupada's Kirtan, bhajan was going on. So this person just heard the bhajan and said, who is this singing? He said, Prabhupada speaking. I want this. Such a nice music. So he went back home and kept on hearing Prabhupada's bhajan and went on to become a great devotee. Good devotee and became initiate also. Yeah. So Prabhupada's music. Why? Because Prabhupada's composition, externally whatever, but internally was full of devotion. There are so many things to say. And India, thank you so much. can wait for some more time to question. Or maybe comments also and corrections. Whatever devotees here for many years. I know, I don't know all of them, but I know from your faces, bright faces, that you're practicing Krishna consciousness for a long time. Any comments? Yes. Comments or corrections or questions?
Oh, it's a reflection.
Reflection, please.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. First of all, thank you very much for such a wonderful class. Thank you for speaking on Srimad Bhagavatam. And I love the point, even though it was in the purpose, but still the way you mentioned and you explained about Narottam Das Thakur and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, that Vaishnava bhajans are as good as Vedic hymns. They're non-different. So yeah, that was something that touched me. So it was a very beautiful point for me. I just wanted to mention. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Prabhu, for the wonderful class. Like I really like how you mentioned the devotion parts in like singing and also in the Vedic hymns. My question is from the translation that it is mentioned that as well as the thought of transcendental qualities of the Lord, who is sung in select poetry. So why Shukdev Goswami is saying about select poetry, not about like all the transcendental?
Yeah, because when Lord is glorified, Uttama Shloka. Shloka means what? Verses. So if you want to glorify the Lord, do you not choose the best of words? So selected poetry means best of words. Uttama Shloka. From all shlokas, the best Uttama Shloka. Like an example, if you want to offer Bhoga to Lord, will you aspire to have good ingredients, like best of ingredients? And if you have a good kirtan program here, you choose the best of singers, you sing very beautifully. So you will be absorbed in him. So by choosing all the best items, right? Bhoga best item, kirtan best item. Similarly, when devotees glorify Lord, he is glorified with choicest of words, best of shlokas.
And it's also the name of Krishna.
Yeah, Uttama Shloka.
She is.
You're raising your hands or doing yoga? Okay, I thought you were doing yoga. Which story is this? All story. Thank you. So you pray ABCD for me, for my. You pray to Krishna for me. Okay, so I think so we doing something. Done. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.